How's it going, YouTube? It's Harry back again. Today, I want to talk about childhood. I know, this is like, I feel like I should be laying back and at the psychologist office, right? But no, I wanted to talk about that because I was watching some things and reading some stuff, and the concept, and I think it's a little older of a concept, but the concept of like this FtM came up, so male to male. Like, did you always feel like a male? And that's an interesting thought point. It really is. So for me, did I always feel like male? You know, I think the problem is that I just don't really feel like I'm female. I don't really feel like I'm male, but I definitely don't feel like I'm female. And I mean, I feel male enough. Don't get me wrong. Like, socially, I feel male. But let's back it up a little bit. So I remember like elementary school. I think, first of all, one important thing you should probably know is that I have a twin sister, and she looks absolutely nothing like me. And I'm talking like long blonde hair, blue eyes, like the epitome of female. And so there was always that contrast. It was just the two of us growing up. And so the way that gender roles or anything came out, I was always the more masculine one, and I was the tomboy and all that, and she was the little princess that walked around, and that's the way it worked, and that's fine. I was never told I really couldn't do anything or whatnot. But I remember specific instances. I can come back, and so like kindergarten, I was friends with all boys in elementary school, first of all, like every single one. My sister was friends with all the girls. She got invited to sleepovers and everything. I didn't get invited to sleepovers or anything. I was just one of the boys. And, I'd go play kickball and basketball and everything, and football during recess, and my sister would be like doing who knows what. I don't even know what they did. But I remember like kindergarten one time, it was circle time or something. And there was like a circle for boys and a circle for girls. And I had just gone to my one friend's birthday party, a boy, and like the weekend before, and so I was like, oh, like I want to join, be with my one friend. And I got in trouble because I was in the wrong circle and like had like tried to put myself in there, and they didn't want me in there, but I wanted to be in there, and it just like got really weird. And I remember getting in trouble for that. And there was many other instances of this, of where it's like line up, or let's not even do line up. Like, I remember we went to the zoo one time. I think it was in 4th grade. That was a great trip. We spent the night at a zoo, which it almost seems like a memory, like I made this up, because who spends the night at a zoo in elementary school? We did. How cool is that? And so we were at the zoo, and they didn't have separate rooms for boys and girls, but instead they were like, well, we don't have separate rooms, but they put a line down the middle. They're like, boys have to sleep on this side and girls have to sleep on this side. And I was just so confused. I was like, well, why? And all of my friends were boys, and so I wanted to sleep on the boys' side, but I wasn't allowed to sleep on the boys' side. And so I remember I just like slept in the middle. And it was a really sad night. And my sister was like, Harry, you're being stupid. Like, come on. And I was like, but I just want to be with my friends. Like, that's all I could think. I was like, I just want to be with my friends. And so there were always countless incidences of this. And I guess that begs into question, like, I mean, I was still socialized female to an extent, but I feel like I've really just lived this option B type status. Like, I wasn't in the binary. I was this person that was walking around and didn't fit into anything. And so for all intents and purposes, yes, I was raised female, but I was not the true female. I didn't get treated the same way as my sister. When we started hitting middle school, things that were expected of my sister and expected of other girls weren't expected of me, but things that were expected of boys weren't expected of me. And I just like kind of floated by. I don't really know how or why. I guess I might have just been really ignorant too. But like, I mean, I remember even in like high school, middle school, like sleepovers, like at church and stuff, it would be like, oh, like, who is your crush? And it was like, no one would ever ask me. And I don't remember even really having a crush or letting myself think about that. Or it would be like, let's go paint nails and all this stuff. And I was like, well, no. And they're like, okay, fine, bye. And so I didn't. And so it was just like I was this kind of like weird mix of in between. Like when it was like all the girls were like, oh, I'm starting wearing like my bras, and oh, I'm shaving my legs and stuff. And I was like, what? Like I felt like I literally missed a message of, I'm supposed to wear makeup now? Like I'm supposed to wear a bra? Like why? And there was just so much about that. That doesn't mean that, I'm trans. Like all of that together does not add up to being trans, but it adds up to an identity of like, I feel different and this is how I identify, and it just so happens to line up with the way that many other trans guys feel. Granted, that's not every trans guy's experience. And the funny thing is, like, I have quote feminine hobbies of, I know how to sew, I know how to knit. I remember really liking learning how to knit and like needlepoint and stuff like that. Those are, if you want to say more on the feminine side, which hobbies don't have gender. That's how I was raised. And so in my FtM, like I was always different inside. And I get what they're coming in, like from a male to male perspective. Like you were always male, and so now the outside matches it, which is true. But I wasn't raised male. I wasn't raised female really either. And I'm really not seen as female or male in society now. So it's just hella confusing, if I'm being honest. And so for as much as FtM is like the right label, because I have female genitalia and I would like to transition to be seen and perceived as male, I feel like the identity really is trans. It's not male, because I am this special case where I've seen both sides of the spectrum here, and I've just happened to land on a more masculine side, but that doesn't mean that I am male. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to just be a normal guy. I think that's where part of this breaks down, is we can really only have so many layers from a societal standpoint. I mean, because there's plenty of guys who are male, who identify as male and cisgender, who aren't traditional males. I think everyone kind of falls in between on that, but as a society, we kind of lump them into male or female because we are very binary, but we're also just very pattern and categorical as a society. So where that puts me is I want to be in that male category, but there's a whole spectrum in there, just like there's a whole spectrum in the female side. And I think that's just one of the fascinating and beautiful things about humans, is that we have these names and these terms and we identify with them, but at the end of the day, we're all vastly different. And one trans guy isn't going to have the same experience as another trans guy. But the cool thing is that we can look and be like, yeah, I see where they're similar, or why they could be similar, or that, other people did grow up and thought the same way that I thought and feel the same way that I feel. And so that part makes it refreshing, and it makes it feel like an identity is meant for you. So long story short, I don't identify as FtM. I identify more as even just transgender, not even like, yeah, female to male, but like transgender. I think that that's kind of the way that I like, and I like the idea of, when I'm around other trans guys, like it feels right. It feels like we have a lot in common, even though I don't even know what we have in common. So labels are weird, identity is weird, childhood is weird. Childhood is so confusing. Man, I'm thankful that my parents weren't like super crazy or religious or anything, but I did grow up with that kind of always having a comparison of, well, your sister's doing this and this is how she's acting. It's like, yeah, that's great. That's not me. Aside from that, here I am now. I've just talked about childhood, and I'm not crying, so that's a good thing. I mean, here's the thing. If you have a twin and you're on the trans spectrum, like, hit me up. I really want to hear your experience, because it just feels, it feels weird. It's gonna feel weird to like have this conversation with her about being trans. I feel like I'm letting her down, or I've misled her for so long and almost like betrayed her. And I don't know why I feel that. I need to work on those thoughts, obviously. But I can't be the only one who's obviously has a twin sister or a twin in general and feels that it's going to be one of the harder things to talk to them about. So, I hope you all have a great day, and I will catch you later.